In case you just joined in, you're watching SMB right here on Smart 24 TV with Rita Cabanero and Joram Posonko here to make sure we drive business together with you from the hour of 7 to the hour of 10. And right about now, we take you through stories that are also making headlines in the world of business across this country.
All right, and with the SMB reports, let's look at the Umeme 2021 performance, as electricity infrastructure vandalism is still a big challenge to overcome. Electricity infrastructure vandalism is still a challenge to overcome, as it has apparently continued to be a threat to electricity distribution in the country. Peter Kauju, the head of communications at Umeme, has revealed that as the regulators, they continue to rally masses to help in stopping this vice in the country.
Amendment bill, which among others will regulate electricity distribution in the country. Peter Kauju, the head of communication Umeme, revealed that as Umeme, they have been able to connect a number of people and the network has grown to over 1.6 million customers.
Continue to ensure that we build reliability with the electricity network in the country, and so far we are serving about 1.6 million customers. This number has been growing over the years. We've been able to extend the network to about 44,000 kilometers. We've installed over 14,000 transformers, and we're continuing to connect people.
Kauju underlined that there's a big challenge that Umeme is still facing, which is electricity vandalism, and the most cases were recorded from Western Uganda, and he emphasizes that there's ongoing sensitization to the masses so that
we remind the public that they have a duty as well to guard and protect the electricity infrastructure, because it exists to serve them, and that is happening across the country. The problem has been very rampant in Western Uganda, including Barara, Kabale, Kasese, Fort Poto, very recently in Mitiana, Apach, Masindi, and several other areas. But we are intensifying the engagements and sensitization to ensure that people are reminded.
He believes that the Electricity Amendment Bill 2022, which was passed by Parliament, will help to sort out some of these challenges, more so that of vandalizing electricity infrastructure.
The Act will impact the service, because when somebody steals a conductor or vandalizes the electricity infrastructure, and they are given a lighter punishment, it doesn't derail them. So they will possibly go to jail, maybe come back after 1 month and start from where they stopped. But now, with a harsher punishment, we believe this will deter people from vandalizing the electricity infrastructure. And so we'll continue to pursue and, of course, work hand in hand with all the communities to ensure that we keep the electricity infrastructure working hand in hand with key members of the public.
Kauju further revealed that Umeme has continued to ensure reliability to its customers, most especially among schools, hospitals, and they have been able to mitigate any outcome that would eventually result into faults and blackouts.
We have continued to ensure that we build reliability with the electricity network in the country, and so far we are serving about 1.6 million customers. This number has been growing over the years. We've been able to extend the network to about 44,000 kilometers. We've installed over 14,000 transformers, and we're continuing to connect people. The challenge we are facing right now is that of vandalism, because we see people in several parts of the country, especially Western Uganda, vandalizing the network, the cut poles, and steal the conductors or cables. So we've launched a massive campaign.
The government has in the past 3 years intensified investment in the electricity generation, transition and distribution operation throughout the country. But despite these investments, the Ministry of Energy decreased the rampant cases of vandalism of power supply infrastructure.
Well, electricity infrastructure vandalism entails the stealing of not only, when we talk about electricity vandalism, electricity infrastructure, meaning people are stealing cables, people steal metals or machines that are used in connecting electricity. People steal wires. I still don't know where they take these wires.
Selling them. It's an expensive investment.
Oh.
So when you realize, even not only that, if we're to connect this with what happens on road infrastructure, that definitely is a two-way. Okay, infrastructure when it comes to roads. You realize they put up systems which use solar batteries. And one of the highlights is that this is again taken off. But I still believe, because there are reports that we tried to conduct observations and survey, people say that actually where do they get the skill? If it's a civilian like Joram here, you know nothing about the installation that has happened under the ground. Where do you get that zeal, the skill, the energy or the interest of you actually going to a place? You don't know where even they actually started to put a nut, tying that particular cover on top of the battery. So where do you get that skill? Unless or unlikely to have, maybe you're skilled enough to do that, that's when you actually go for that. So basically, if you have got an understanding here, you realize that the same people who install those particular systems, there are allegations that they're the same people who actually turn back and come, because they know how they have tied the nuts, they know what systems have been put in place, because a RITA cannot do that unless you're skilled. But back to electricity vandalism, as well as theft and insecurities on electricity. One of the highlights from Peter Kauju there, the PRO from Umeme, is highlighting Western Uganda. Then, which poses a question, could it be the authorities there? Could it be security systems there? Because you realize it's an area where a lot of security when it comes to monitoring. The monitoring systems are a bit less compared to maybe other areas. For example, you could have felt that maybe it wasn't needed at first, but now with this particular report, I know Umeme must be doing something on that particular one. So I wouldn't feel, that pin every time you pin, but I would appreciate it if actually something is done after, pinning someone. So what are you going to do to make sure there is that gap, that you have realized that, hey, there is a number of people in Western Uganda doing this? And at least we did a survey why people were stealing electricity here in our recent report on Smart 24 TV.
He actually
people were telling their views.
He actually says that electricity infrastructure vandalism is much common in Western Uganda. And then here in Central, I think there is a very big challenge of electricity theft. Which entails people actually stealing electricity, not the infrastructure, but stealing electricity, not paying. I've actually seen people who actually have more units of Yaka. You ask yourself, how do they even get these units? Even without paying.
They have subscribed for it.
Some people actually have over 200 Yaka units. I've seen on social media where someone says, if you want 200 Yaka units, contact me.
No, do not fall short of, do not fall for buffet. Do not fall for
they're not actually buffet. They give you the units.
But I have put 200 units sometime. That costed around 100.
Yeah, it does, because Umeme sometimes will give you that.
So I feel like someone can actually load 200.
There are people who actually pay 20 and Umeme gives them 10. It has actually been a very big concern from most of the Ugandans.
But it depends. It depends. Unless you understand, I can say regularities that are happening. Because if your system, Bajibanja, because every month there is taxation that is actually taken off. That's between 3,000 and 400. It's around 3,000, 3,200. The tariff. Yes, the tax that is taken away that you've got to clear. Kat, you find yourself, there are people who actually dodge to pay, to subscribe in case you're on a Yaka system. So you dodge, maybe not dodging, but sent an ezibula or kusasula in that month. So you've not paid February. Tomusasudde n'okubawo kanda oba n'okubawo tadoba, anything. Over solar, you resort to solar, there is solar now. And then March comes, nojikube ndobo. Is it? Yes, I'm speaking now the language of those particular people I'm addressing too. No kubawe ndobo ku March, no tasasula, no kubawo kandoyo, oba solar, oba katadoba. Is it called katadoba as well?
Katadoba.
Yes. And now those are 2 months. Then April neja. And then you've got money, you're excited, someone gave you something, or you earn something, and then you say, what? Okay then, pause solar, pause candle, and now we're going to put our yaka. Cut in your mind, nechibanga you have 10,000, for example, because I'm giving reality, kubo muntu akubendobo 2 months. That means echinene obe the minimal pricing or the tariff is going to clear the subscription katubalide kumtwalo. Nofuna omutwalo ku no gamba okay April mutwalo no loading. They're not going to give you units for mutwalo. No, they have to first cut the 6,500 that you have dodged to pay for the whole of the 2 months. And this is where the concern comes in, Paul. People will not understand. Why? Because the sensitization has not reached them maybe to understand that, hey, if you have not paid for this certain amount, your Yaka units are going to be affected. Immediately what they do is call Umeme. Baba ne numbers are Umeme, the card. I've noted. But the good thing when you call, they explain to you. But away from there, at least you have now understood a bit of what you need to know when you're paying for Yaka, in case you're in the Yaka system. And maybe if you've got something to conclude on Umeme, then I drive you to the health and to the oil and gas.
Well, I think it's also a very big concern to the Ugandans is that Umeme plus the Ministry of Energy, because last year the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development came out and said that they actually called upon Ugandans to be very vigilant and to at least take part in the action of making sure that this vice ends in Uganda. Because one, it can cost your life. If someone terminates any of the wires of electricity because they actually steal. It is the electricity infrastructure vandalism. If anyone disconnects you off, it can either kill you or it can lead to electricity shocks in the areas. Or some people have actually faced blackouts. So clearly, if you have any case, you report to Umeme or to any authorities around so that you can at least safeguard not only you, but the entire community.
Speaking about reporting, I still feel there is that gap unless government comes out to bridge that, unless Umeme comes out to always send messages. Smart 24, we are here. We're here to make sure we help you drive business. Umeme, we can help you to drive your business to the people and address them actually. So what you need to do is convey information rightly to the public. You might be telling people, Durham, that, hey, you know what, you can report. Do you know my grandmother or my mother can be seeing someone stealing electricity? Or
there is also fear.
Yes, can be seeing someone, like they are twisting wires around. But again, you don't know even where to begin from. So if that kind of information is passed to people, what kind of lanes to call, what is the immediate help to reach out to? I assure you things can change around infrastructure vandalism in regards to electricity
and also
theft.
There's a very huge concern of the people who stay in slums who normally pass their electricity wires in the soil and underground. It becomes a very big threat to most probably everyone living there, because remember in the slums, once it rains, it floods. So these wires at any one point can easily lead to electricity shocks in the area. So it is upon all of the Ugandans here. You may not entirely report, but at least be cautious and think about health first and the life of others before you deal in such activities.
And speaking about the health sector, with the oil processes and projections that are ongoing in the country, do you know that only experts around the medics are needed in this particular case to handle those first attractions in the oil and gas implementations and integration with the health sector? And not only are we speaking about medical experts, but rather you can as well be an expert in that health sector you're in. Because I know, Joram, as a doctor, you have specialized in many things. You have specialized in maybe dentistry, in nursing wounds, you have specialized in treatment of certain things. So this thing of expertise goes towards what you're actually doing as an expert, because I believe you are an expert of what you do every day. So now we head to oil and gas and how it is surely affecting the health sector. Medicals have called upon, or medics have called upon government to invest into the health sector to ease the oil processes and exploration, because a healthy economy generates wealth. Take a look at the story. We return to speak more about it.
At the start of this year, Uganda signed the final agreement with Tanzania, a project which will yield a lot of development to Uganda. Much as the first oil will be realized by 2024-2025, the preparations are ongoing and several investors are required to participate in the oil process. In the 2 days conference which took place at Serena Conference Center, several stakeholders took part. Dr. Shannon Kakungulu says that oil and gas sector is one of those very risky jobs that you can't operate without medics.
Gas is a very high risk industry regarding what? Risks of health. They are susceptible to what we call occupational hazards. They are susceptible, which include physical accidents like falls from a ladder when you are doing putting in up electrical wires. As you are drilling, the pressure of the oil can come up and you drown in the fluids that come out of the ground. There is a possibility, since it is a big camp of about 4,000 people, food poisoning is a reality. There could be food poisoning out of eating dirty, something that is infected in the food. So that is another possibility. Then exposure to chemicals out of these gases of the oil. It is like sulfur dioxide. It's very, very dangerous to the human body. If you inhale it, it's fatal. You can die. Carbon monoxide is very, very dangerous. You can die out of it. So the oil industry is a highly regulated industry. It is more into prevention. But if an accident happens, you should have the capacity to handle it. That's why you need the health infrastructure.
Ugandans therefore need a highly specialized doctor to operate in such risk sectors like the oil and gas.
For preventive services, normally they use paramedics, they use nurses, and they use general doctors who are normally at the sites. But in case of very complicated accidents, normally we need the services of surgeons. We need services of dermatologists, doctors who treat skin diseases. We need services of lung specialists in case it is inhalation. They need doctors who are specialists in infectious diseases in case it is an infection. They need orthopedic surgeons in case it is fractures. So all facets of the health industry may be required at any one time.
Kakungulu further recommends that the health system must be set up at all times to handle and respond to such emergencies.
Priorities of government regarding the health sector are very, very much underrated. Rather, the health system is not funded adequately in terms of remuneration of health workers, in terms of the health infrastructure, which includes the buildings of the hospitals or health centers. It includes the equipping of those hospitals and health centers. It also includes the general working environment, okay, and the maintenance.
Payments of salaries to the health workers is also critical to consider by government.
Insufficient resources for the human resource management in terms of sufficient salaries and other inducements, houses for the health workers, vehicles for the health workers, a good environment, allowances for the health workers. The other day, they said that all the people who worked in COVID, we are cancelling all their contracts. That is a bit unfair. You just don't recruit people just for an emergency and then you just drop them off. We can never have enough doctors, enough nurses in this country. So pay them well, have the infrastructure up and running, maintain it well, and then also ensure that that will ensure enough recruitment. It's not about only recruitment, but also retaining staff. Make sure that those you recruit stay within the service and they provide to the services to the best of your ability.
According to the reports emanating from the different stakeholders who are concerned by oil and gas sector, like the Chinese National Oil Company, Uganda National Oil Company, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and the mother ministry, which is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, the oil and gas project is one of those projects that, if handled well, is likely to contribute tremendously to the country's development. However, the responsibilities of achieving this goal is a collective responsibility, and thus the health sector is one of those sectors that remain very fundamental.
Thank you, Fred Makuria there. And Dr. Shannon Kakungulu was highlighting for us what the government needs to consider, or what those in capacity need to consider if we are to make sure we develop the health sector with the hopes of oil and gas vis-a-vis the other. Because definitely highlighting how, if you're going to work around the oil projects, you need a health, health attendance, because anything can happen anyway. Even in our daily lives, you consider health first. I mean, you drink and eat, or you do anything related to that matter to make sure you keep alive the next day.
Very, very true. And with the health and health sector is still a very pivotal part, by the way, in any economy, because health has absolutely got all the details of one becoming wealthy. If you're not healthy, if your body is not healthy, then there is no way you can achieve a lot of things. There is no way you can execute the duties that you ought to execute. So the health sector is very important, even with the oil and
capacity.
Gas.
If you look at oil and gas, it is going to need capacity. You need to consider yourself how your equipment is, because at the end of the day, we do not want, there's one thing when we tend to always be in the need, we need this, but again, what capacity are you holding to make sure you convey that particular service to the needed people, or to the people who need it actually. So all the equipment, you realize one of highlights or regularities concerned with oil and gas, they are telling you if you want to come on board, make sure you're well equipped. We do not want very worn out equipment. Otherwise, who am I going to treat with worn out equipment? Even Joram, when you go to hospital, okay, God forbid, I'm not calling for it. You want to be admitted, bedridden. Nebakutwala katanda kaliko umanya bwoma, they are metallic, but then no lava, it's all worn out, like the color went off.
Happens a lot in government hospitals, by the way.
The color went off.
It happens a lot with government hospitals.
Do you feel
talk about beds that are...
Do you feel comfortable?
No, you won't feel comfortable at that moment. Why? Because you realize coming to the hospital. you feel, but at the end of the day, I've got to realize that once you're getting the treatment, there are certain things that may not matter at the time, because there is a time when you're admitted to a hospital and you're very, very
But you remain concerned. I'm telling you, you will be concerned if the doctor is coming.
And after you get some energy, you'll still ask him.
If the doctor is coming, and then the apron, the attire they put on, that doctorate or nurse attire, is just that. Okay, it is stained. It is stained, showing that it may be any blood. Exactly. Yes, that kind of stain. Would you feel comfortable that person coming to
you? No, you may even not want him to actually work on you.
Exactly.
Because you will have a lot
Which
of
is why equipment
mistrust.
is very important, because it brings trust to the sector that, hey, I can now do this. But there exactly, we're going to a break, or after there we return to discuss with you more stories that are continuing to help you out from the different sectors you are actually watching us from, and highlighting on how you need to keep you up to speed to make sure you tap into certain opportunities. We return after the break. SMB continues.